Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about several different things that recently came up for some of the clients, but mostly I haven't seen too many people using this on the web. Happy Halloween, by the way, everybody. Um, but it's something that's really useful and important, in my opinion, because you can do a lot more in terms of visibility and in terms of engagement with people if you use images. I mean, it's a known fact. But also everybody knows that animated images are a lot more impactful than regular images. So that's what I want to talk a little bit more about, is how do you create, not so much create animated images. I mean, most people do know how to do that. And if you don't, then you can ask me and we can do a separate hangout on that. But today I wanted to bring up the concept of being able to do things like this. Let me just show you real quick here. Pull up my screen here. And just so you can see right here, you have, for example, this post here, as you can see, has but you can see right here, this particular post here has, as you can see, 3 different videos in there. And as you know, when you create a new Google Plus post, if you click on video, to add a video, then you can enter, find some YouTube videos. And, let's say we put in, let's see which video we can put in. Doesn't really matter. We'll just put in, one video in there and say add video. Okay. Now, once I add that particular video here, is notice that I don't have any options anymore to add more. There is no option. I can remove this one, but I can't add any more videos. So basically this post will have just nothing but one single video, nothing more. Okay. But what I wanted to show you today is how you create something like this. Right here, as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3 videos in this one. And just to show you that it's not some just buttons, I'm going to go ahead and click on the video. And there's David speaking. And it's got sound and everything. And according to Google, it says we detect your video can be enhanced. They think they can enhance David Amberland. I don't think so. But as you can see, there's video number 1. And then if I go and click on the button here, then my second video that's in there, which is a video of a little screen cast, basically, of a particular thing I was trying to show to somebody. So it's got a little video that shows how to do this. A little function with Google Keep. It only has video, doesn't have anything else. And as you can see, that's playing, doing different things. I'm not doing this right now. It's just the video playing. It looks like I'm doing something. Okay, and then the third one, this one, is yet another video that also shows a web page, and me doing some stuff on that particular page. Hopefully Mark Barrows doesn't mind, because it's one of his pages. And so as you can see, I got these 3 on the bottom. It says 1 of 3. So I got these 3 videos. I can easily jump between them and play them as much or as little as I want, jump at any time, and of course get out. So that's an example, one of the things that you can do with Google Plus Post that I've seen very few people do, but definitely something that's doable. Okay, it's not a new function of Google Plus. It's been there for a long time. Just for some reason, I think people don't know that they can do this, so they don't do it. And then with polls, what I wanted to show you also was the situation like this here, where you can see this one poll I set up. It has a static image here, but over here, as you can see, there's moving video, basically. A little video shows the shot of Mount Rainier in the distance. So that's, those 2 right there. And then on the left here, you can see another poll. And this one has a couple of little videos playing, just graphical videos, basically, playing as you see in real time. Okay. And so if I wanted to bring this image to the full screen, I click on the zoom image, and you can see that actually a full-blown video looks like this. Okay, and if I want to go to the second video, same kind of deal. I click on it. Down below, just like watching any scrolling through photos essentially, and you see the second video playing. Okay, and both of these things, can be viewed like this, and also they can be viewed, as you can see on the actual post. It looks like this, so it makes it much more dynamic. If you scroll through the posts and you see, different posts, you can see everything is pretty static. I mean, you have some images here, some better, some worse, whatever they might be. Bottom line is they're just sitting there, nothing there. But if you go and you all of a sudden catch something like this, totally catches your attention because it's moving. So it definitely has a much more impact to do it, and it's not that difficult to do. So let me show you how to create this kind of stuff on Google+. The actual process is extremely simple and straightforward. And that is, what you can do is when you click on a new share, a new post, you can put in either photos, links, videos, events, polls, all of that, right? And when you put in photos, you can upload, or you can use Google Photos, but you can put as many photos, drag as you want here, right? So one of the things that you can also do, apparently, is you can upload MP4 files, essentially QuickTime files, or as they call MP4 video files. So if I was gonna upload from my computer here, click upload from my computer, and if I was gonna find some MP4 file like this one, for example, and say open it, it's gonna drop it in there as a photo. In other words, you're adding it just like photos. You do not click on add video. You simply click it or drag MP4 right into the post like you would do with photos. Think of it as animated photos, and you use exactly the same approach as you use with photos. Now over here, I have one. As you can see, it doesn't tell me anything else here, but down below it says add photos, so it thinks I'm adding photos. I can click on upload from computer, and now if I select another MP4, let's pick one. Let's see, let's be good. Something small. I'll just upload this one. See, all of these are, it says MP4 extension. I want to make sure I'm uploading MP4s so there'll be videos. Now it does the same thing it does with photos, as you can see, and it's just dropping the second video in there in real time. Now sometimes Google takes a little time to process them, so they won't immediately be showing the video itself. It'll say processing. I think it took a video, it's a little too long. I wanted to show you the short ones. It doesn't really matter. You can drop videos as long as you want. As you can see, when it's got this little sign, that means usually it's doing the processing. And of course, notice that just like photos, it allows me to put in caption, it allows me to make something an album cover, so it makes it more prominent. And then I click on done, and now it looks like this. And of course, once it processes this video, because it's a longer one, it takes longer time, then you'll also see it here in the same way on this one post. So this, we'll call it Erica, and we'll just go ahead and say we want to go ahead and share it. Okay, and right now I'm sharing it to everybody so everybody can see it. So if you're looking at it, you can actually click on it and see it. So if I click on the video here, of course it'll do what you think it will do. It'll just play the video with audio and everything. And notice down below it says 1 of 2. So if I click on the next deal over here, because like I said, it's taking it a little while to process, so it's basically processing, so it'll take a little while. But once it gets done, it'll be available here to play as well. You don't have to do anything to finish it, just let it be there, and eventually it'll come up looking like this. We have essentially 2 videos with the little play buttons on it. And you can put in as much text as you want. It's a regular Google post. There's nothing special or different about it, other than the fact that instead of uploading JPEGs or GIFs or PNGs, you're actually uploading MP4 files. That's the key, is it needs to be an MP4 file. Okay, so some people ask, okay, can you also do animated GIF? Absolutely, of course you can do animated GIFs. In fact, if you do animated GIFs, that's what most people do. But the animated GIFs have a couple of limitations. Number one is usually they're fairly small in size. So if you wanted to do like a 2-minute video, that would be a really huge animated GIF. Number one. And number two is there's no sound in animated GIFs. So if you wanted to do video with sound, then this would be the case. So here is an example where you can really, if you really start to think about it, what can you do with this kind of stuff? You can create all kinds of movies, or kinds of videos, I should say, in MP4 format. There's most of the programs that create videos out there allow you to save as MP4, format, so it's not difficult to do that. One of the things that I use, for example, for demonstrations, is one example, is you can go in and you can actually create, I'm using a program called Snagit from the same people who do Camtasia from TechSmith. And so they allow you to actually record very easily MP4 right from the screen. So what I can do is I can hit a couple of keys here. I'll just do it in real time. The camera guy hopefully is following me. So I'm going to say, I'm going to go ahead and select this part here, like that. And then it's going to ask me what I want to do, text or not text, but graphics or video. I'm going to say I'm going to record a video. And now it's counting down to 2, and I'm going to go ahead and say a few words. So it's recorded sound as well. And so I just want to basically record it. I'm clicking on comment here, typing a comment, and scrolling a little bit, sharing that. And that's good enough right there. And I'm going to stop it. So now that I've done and saved it, what I wanted to show you as soon as it processes it, it will take just a second. Essentially what it does, it winds up recording everything that's on the screen in that box that I drew. It winds up recording as a MP4 video. And so now I'm going to go ahead and save it to disk. You can also trim it a little bit, and I'm going to just save it to, let's save it to Google Drive, and we'll call it test Snagit. Okay, MP4, save. Now, essentially what's happening is if I go, and let me just make sure you guys are looking at it. So now if I go create a new post, and if I go and say I want to add a photo, I'm actually going to click and say, let me pick on Google Drive. I'm going to, I call it test Snagit right here, test Snagit MP4. And I'm going to go ahead and click on open. And now you will see that it's putting right there into the post the video that I just recorded. And so if I go ahead and Snagit example, call it that, and I click on share. And if any of you, by the way, subscribe to my stream, then you would see at this point, I will delete these posts later because there's no need for them. But in the meantime, if you click on it, you will see what I'm saying. So over here, if I go ahead and if I click on this video, this post, then as you can see, it's playing the animation that was part of the the background itself. I mean, that was part of what was there before. So you can see that's actual video, not just a photo. And now I'm doing my thing with putting in my comment. So it's doing that. And then it does the scrolling with the share. And so in other words, it plays what I just recorded. So if you use something like Snagit, you can take any part of the screen, including menus, including cursors, everything. Cursors, I wanted to say. And it records all of that stuff into an MP4 format. And whatever you did on the screen, that's what's going to get saved as a video. And then you just drag it into a post, and there you go. Okay. And if you wanted to drag multiple of these, like let's say you want to do a tutorial example, and you wanted to show people how to do something, by certain menu selections, and then you do this, and you do this. So you basically go through all the steps. You can actually record all of this directly on this part of the screen using something like Snagit. You will create an MP4 file, and you can drop it into a Google Plus post. And then, of course, the same post could go to collections, it could go to communities, it could go anywhere. And then you can, of course, link to it from Gmail, from email post, and usual things how you normally share information. All of this would be applicable. And then if you wanted to have multiple of these, let's say you have like a five-step process where you wanted to do a certain number of operations in step 1, then step 2, then step 3, and so on. You could actually record these as 5 separate videos, MP4s, showing people how to do what you do in step 1, what you do in step 2, and so on. And then you simply drop them into the same post. You're going to have all 5 videos in the same post, just like I have here over here with David, these 3 videos. You can do exactly the same thing with 5 videos or 10 videos or 100 videos. It doesn't really matter. But the beauty is that you have it all in one place. You can put whatever text you want. People can put comments on it. And now you have this multi-video capability, and people can go, instead of recording, let's say, one long one, you can break it down to 5 different steps, like I mentioned. And now people can only look at that particular step and play it back as much as they want until they get it pretty solidly, pretty good grasp on it, in other words, and then they can proceed to the next one, and they can jump to the first one and to the fourth one, and basically totally under their control, totally random access or linear access, whatever they want. But the beauty is it's really simple to create these MP4s, using something like Snagit or using anything else. I mean, there's tons of tools out there that create them, and then you can just put one or more into a Google Plus post as you would do with photos. That's basically the easiest way to describe it. Okay, so moving into using that theme and kind of moving forward here, let's look at polls. What's the nice thing about polls? In polls, what you can do is you can do essentially the same thing. Is when you create a poll, you can put in multiple photos in there, and it's exactly the same capability here. You can just drop these MP4s in there instead, and as you can see in this poll here, I got these 2 videos. And when people click on the video itself, it winds up registering as a vote. So for those who don't know, the only way you can actually see these videos is by clicking on this little box at the top right called Zoom Image. Even though it says image, it's actually a video, but it's means just look at it in the lightbox view. So if I click on this particular box here, then it's going to go ahead and show it to me and play it back. Okay, so it's playing this little video here, which is about 16 seconds long. Okay, and so that's how people can look at it. So also, as I said earlier, it creates a much more animated, much more interesting, as you scroll through the stream, possibility of people going, whoa, what is this? And so it kind of grabs their attention compared to everything else in the screen. You can see, looking at this display, that your attention is immediately drawn to these moving things compared to every other post there, even though the other posts are also kind of colorful and have images. Still, these moving things definitely immediately grab your attention. So it's really cool that you can do that kind of stuff. So same concept here. You drop MP4s instead of, we'll just do one just so you can see. Create a new post. We'll call it a poll. And then over here, I can create, drop in 1 or more images. So I can just click on select photos from your computer, and I'm going to scroll down here and pick, what do we have here? Let's go to downloads. I should have some videos there. And we'll drop, I don't know, something like this, for example. So it uploads the video and puts it there, right there. And then, of course, I got a button here that says more photos. So if I wanted to, which in this case I do, I'm going to put in another one. And we'll put something different. We'll put this one. Put the second one. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to go ahead and do one more. I guess it doesn't let me do one more. So for now, I guess go ahead and see what's put in. So this would be choice 1, choice 2, more choices. Yeah, so see if I go to choice 3, I can go ahead and click a little camera icon. I can drag an image there, or I can just pick another one, which will be, let's see, I've got it before here somewhere. Let's see, now we'll just pick this space needle one. That's not too bad. Okay, and that's basically, you can put as many, obviously, as you have the poll entries there that Google allows you to do. I believe 5 is the limit. And so this would be just example of videos. And we'll post that. And as you can see, right now, it already processed one of them. So it's doing the second one and the third one. So they're going to come up, pretty soon here. And you can see the images. And of course, you can, at any point, you can pull up the zoom in like this and actually see full screen. It's a nice looking deal there. And let's see if this one is ready. No, it's just processing stuff. Okay, so those will come up in a few minutes, then we'll look at them. So, and then this one looks like it's, there we go. There we go. Get ready for Star Wars. Okay. Anyway, you get the idea here, right? So you can have two, you can have more, and you can have both stills, like this one here, and you have the animated, like this one there. Notice that this particular one, this is not really MP4 here. This I'm using an animated GIF. So you have a total choice whether you want to use the video or you want to use animated GIF or you want to use still images. Just drop them all as you see fit into either a post or a poll, and you're going to create a lot more engaging, I think, posts. The drawback to this approach is, you got to be a little bit careful to make sure you do not overdo it, because if you get nothing but animation going into all of your posts, it's going to basically scare people looking at your stream, because it just everything moves. So you need to use a certain amount of common sense and certain amount of I guess creativity to see what makes sense, where it makes sense to animate things, where it doesn't make sense to animate things, and make a decision that way. But the option is there if you do want to animate something, especially I think for this would be also very useful, not just for business but also for education. For kids, kids love animation, and so for them, if you have, and of course this doesn't have to be video of real type deal, you could have regular type cartoon type animation going as well. That'll work just as fine, as long as you drop these as MP4s. It's going to look just as good. And so for kids, I think there is a tremendous amount of additional capabilities there. Pinging here Diana Angwa and David D. Garcia and everybody else who's watching this who's into education, because it really does, I think, improve potentially child engagement and their interest in learning, which is obviously a big part of the game. And so I think it has a lot of uses and a lot of possibilities here to do this kind of stuff. So that's one thing I want to talk today about. The second thing, two things actually. The third thing I want to talk about today is the Google Keep. And Google Keep just, let me just jump out of here for a second. So Google Keep just announced, Google just released a new mobile version of Google Keep, literally 2 days ago, I think 3 days ago. And the beauty about that is they allowed now to create drawings, basically do sketching as part of Google Keep. So what you can do, I'm going to grab my phone here, because I don't have my tablet close by, and just kind of try to show you a little bit here what it does. And then when you get your own, you'll see. So there's Google Keep right there. As you can see, let me try to see if I can get a little better focus for you. So the main thing I want you to see is at the bottom there, at the very bottom, you see those tools right there. You see it's got the camera, it's got the microphone like it used to, but it also has this little pen now. That's the new one. And they added that not only to the Google Keep mobile for the application itself, but they also added it as a widget. So if you go and look at my widgets on my first screen here, my main deal, you can see right there on the right side there, you can see the widget for Google Keep. It also has a little pen. So what I can do is I can easily click on the little pen, which will jump right into, give me a blank note, and I can just start doodling. And so as you can see, I just drew something with my finger, there it is. And the controls on the bottom, just get them a little bit better in focus. I can't get them in focus. Okay, you can see what's going on here. Basically allows me to select a thin pen, allows me to select a thicker pen, allows me to, if I click on the pen, it pulls up this little set of options with different size brushes and different colors on the bottom. So I can choose, for example, orange, and now I'm drawing with orange right there. And then also I can select a highlighter. So I can take a highlighter and I can actually highlight where it's kind of transparent, at the same time goes over whatever was there before in whatever color I wanted. And in addition to that, if I bring up one more layer, they have a little button, a little arrow that allows me to have even more color choices and things like that. So there's the brush sizes and there is the color choice. So it's pretty competent in that regard. In addition to that, they also give you an eraser, so I can click on the eraser, and I can just click on, there's this one, and click on that one, erase it. So each one of these is a separate object when you draw, and then you can delete one at a time if you want. Okay. Also, you can make selections, multiple selections, by drawing a box around them. When you draw a box around something, it automatically selects the entire shape, and then you can move it around. You can easily delete it, different things like that. So basically, they're separate. So it's a very simple sketching type deal where it allows you to just use the stylus, which now for people who use Samsung Galaxy Notes, those Note phones definitely would be really cool to use with this because they come with a pen and with the stylus, and also any tablets and everything. And of course, you can use your finger as I just used here. In addition to that, let me show you another use for it, and then it just saves it as a note. So there is right there. If you look at my notes, you can see there's a little squiggly note at the top, and all the other features of the Keep are as before. It's the same. But over here, I want to show another example. If I scroll through and find something where there's an image, like for example, there's a post with an image on it. What I can do, if I click on this image, it actually shows me at the top. It shows me a little pencil, so I can click on a little pen there, and now I can actually start doodling and drawing directly on the image itself. Okay, so now you can annotate the images any way you want. Different colors, different sizes, all that kind of stuff. And of course, same thing. If I go, I can erase it. Erase one of them. The other one stays in place. I can move it around. Easily draw more, and so on and so forth. So for example, one example would be, let's say you have some kind of text. You can use the highlighter to highlight parts of it, things like that. You can also draw arrows, to point something. And of course, when you share it, it will share the entire thing with whatever it is in place right there. So it's very handy. And of course, also it automatically will, if I go ahead and back out of this thing, then as you can see on my screen, you can't see my screen, but I'll show you my screen like this. I'll just share my screen to make it easier. If I go and share my screen, as you can see right there, you can see this my little squiggle here right there. Looks like that. Okay. And then over here, this is the node with my image, with my doodles there. Okay. And so as you can see, it quickly syncs and everything is there. You cannot draw at this point. They don't have drawing capabilities on the desktop version, so there's nothing I can do there. Now on this version here, just as an example, one thing I haven't done yet, let's jump out here for a second. And one thing I wanted to see, if I save this, if I get out and go back in, I wanted to see if I can actually just see real quick here, if I can actually click on the pencil, and if I click on the eraser, yep, see, so it erased it right there. I got one more little thing erased right there. So I'm back to my regular image. So even after you save a note, it still knows that these are all objects or separate layer object, and you can go back to the node, delete them anytime you wish. If you want to change them, add them, whatever you want to do. So the beauty is that you can definitely do annotations. One of the things you can do, for example, is you can create things like signatures, for example. You can use it as a way to create a signature on some document and have somebody sign it digitally, and it becomes part of the deal. You can annotate any text with anything you want, by adding additional little signs, arrows, whatever you want to point out, to access whatever you want to do. So the idea is, if you want to add any kind of graphical annotation to an existing image or existing node, or create a new one, you can easily do so with Google Keep now, which is very handy for a number of uses. Okay, so the last thing I was going to talk today about, trying to remember here, one more thing I was going to show you. Oh yeah, I just put a spec tip yesterday, if you haven't seen it, dealing with Google Forms and Google Sheets that go tie in together where the data is stored. One of the problems that you may run into is if you create a Google form and then you take and create, put some data in it, the data goes into a spreadsheet, which is normally where Google stores form data. So it goes into a sheet. And if it goes into the sheet, the actual field names on the sheet are identical to the ones on the form. So you set up, as a simple example, let's say let's go name, and then you have like first name, last name, and address, let's say, as an example. You have 3 fields. Those are exactly the same names, the same fields will be in the sheet. But if later on you wind up doing a lot of messing around and you decided that, you also want to add the middle name, and so you add additional fields here and there, the sheet winds up sometimes getting confused. And if you try to copy an existing form into a new form and then modify the fields, it really creates havoc on the sheet in terms of which fields are where. Sometimes you wind up with the duplicated columns, which really mean the same field, but the data now goes into the second column it created because for some reason it thought it wasn't the same as the first time around. So it's really kind of can become a mess on the sheet end. Visually, when you just look at it and you don't pay any attention to any of that kind of stuff, you just store the information and, without worrying too much, then this mess becomes kind of behind the scenes. You don't really see it. But once you start messing around with the actual sheet itself, because that's where the data is, and you might want to write some reports or whatever information you're trying to get out of it, it can be a problematic thing because you have 2 fields called address, and both of them have data, and you have no idea why one is one is the other. Especially this also happens when you try to make a copy of an existing form into a new form, and then you start modifying the fields there. It really makes a huge difference. I apologize for the phone call there. Really makes a huge difference in terms of the fields that wind up being once you start modifying the copy of the form to be something different with different set of fields. The reason you want to do a copy a lot of times is because you want to duplicate what you've already done, maybe just add a few more fields, substitute some of the names, some of the fields, and pretty much it's the same thing. So why reinvent the wheel? Another possibility would be the new Google Forms right now are kind of nice, and they have a new interface and everything, but they haven't rolled that out yet to the apps people, to the Google Apps users. And so on Google Apps, if you're trying to create a form, it'll be using the old interface for Google Forms. In Google regular Gmail accounts, Google accounts, you'll be able to set up using new Google Forms. The problem with new Google Forms is that not only is it vastly different in terms of user interface, it also doesn't have all the functionality yet, such as dates and times. And the other day, I needed to set up a form with date on it, and I couldn't do it using the new approach. So what I wound up doing is I wound up actually making a copy of one of the older style forms and then modifying it using the old interface, because if I set up a new form, it'll automatically go into new format. So if that's confusing, the bottom line is if you do get a situation where you have your fields in this sheet that go with the Google form screwed up in some way, then what you can do is you can remedy the problem and make them real pristine, just like if you set up everything perfectly from the beginning by using the following approach. Let me just show you a screen here real quick. I'll show you exactly what to do. So if I go to Google Drive here, by clicking the little drive icon, if I go to Google Drive, and then on Google Drive, let's just go to Forms. Form. So as you can see, whenever you create forms, you have the form, and then you have the same name with the word responses in parentheses. That's the default it creates. So the data, the form itself is here, the data into the form goes in here. And you can see there's all these multiple deals of that. So what you can do is if you go to the form itself, then under the, if you go to, I'm sorry, not the form, if you go to responses for the form, then what you can do here is you'll have the, one of the menus is called form. And so from the sheet, there's an option there called unlink form. And so that's what you'd want to select first. Once the form is unlinked, then you can just go back to the drive and simply delete the spreadsheet, just click on that, click on delete, and it'll go into trash. And then when you go into the form again and click again on view, let's just go ahead and try to see which one I can do. That's fine. We'll do this one. So let's say I have this form. It's an old form, the old data, I don't need it anymore, so we can experiment on that. And so there is the form there, and then I click on view responses, and this drops me into the spreadsheet. Of course, you don't have to do one or the other, you can just go right to the spreadsheet. It's just, for a lot of people, it's easier to do it methodically. So there's only one entry there, right? And so what I'm gonna do, let's say I wanted to reinitialize this particular form. All I have to do is click on form, click on unlink form. It says, are you sure you want to do it? If you do it, it will stop copying, so on and so forth. I said, yeah, I'm positive. And now the form is going to be unlinked, okay? Now what I can do is I can simply go back to the actual sheet here on Google Drive, hit delete key, that's done. Okay? And so now I have this form, but I don't have any responses for it. So if I double click on it to go into it, it'll open the form up. And then if I go ahead and click on view responses, it's going to give me the typical basically pop-up that shows where do you want responses to go, new spreadsheet, and gives the name, the default name. So I simply click create because that's what I want, and it goes ahead and creates it. And at this point, all the fields would be exactly as in the form itself. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So those are the couple of things that I want to show you guys today. If you ever need to do this, that's how you do it. Mainly, of course, I wanted to talk about the MP4s for both posts and for polls, because they're definitely very useful and handy to use. And if you have any questions about any of this, as always, you can contact me on Google+, email. Basically, I'm easily available. One last thing I wanted to mention for those people who don't know or may not have heard about SpecZone. SpecZone is a service that I'm running with small businesses. It's an online-based service which allows you to have your own IT department, something you can, most likely if you're a small business, you can't afford to have, but this way you can actually afford it. There's a limited number of spaces. Right now we have running 3 different businesses right now running on it, and we're still signing up people. So if you're interested or know somebody who might be interested in getting IT savvy for their business without spending an arm and a leg, what I mean by not spending an arm and a leg, the service is only $200 a month, and there is no commitment of any kind, and you can cancel anytime. So essentially you become a member, you stay as a member at that price as long as you want to stay, and then at some point in time, if you decide to jump out, you can jump out. And the only stipulation is if you want to jump back in again, you can, provided there's room, because like I said, there's a limited number of seats, and so there's room available, you can jump in, and the price may be different at that point as well. It just depends on the situation where things are at. So the only way to guarantee both the lowest price and the fact that you're going to be there and be taken care of is, you become a member and stay a member. So if you're interested in that, you can find the SpecZone collection on under the PCS collections. It has got more information about some of the details. You can certainly ask me if you're interested in that. And it's a really kind of handy. I'm going to do a mini webinar talking about why this is useful and why this would be something that you might want to consider for your business. And I'm going to bring some people that are currently using, our members, to give their take basically on how well it's working for them and what they think of the service, what they think of me, that kind of usual stuff, the social proof stuff. And but definitely give it some consideration if you're spending too much money on IT, if you're not getting the kind of IT service that you need or want to get, If you're constantly spinning your wheels by hiring different people, and people come and go, and one person comes in and says something is done, and the second person comes in and says this is all wrong, you need to do something else, and you need to buy all these servers and all this software, and basically you just kind of trying to tear your hair out trying to figure out what to do, because you got all these people telling you what to do, and at the same time all this money goes out and the results are uh, questionable. Let's put it this way. It doesn't happen all the time, but certainly happens more than enough, and that's why you might want to consider becoming a member at Spec Zone to avoid these kind of problems. So with that, I think we're done for today. I thank you very much for watching. This is Oleg with BCS, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Until next time, take care.